welcome all of you to the Friday e-call. The purpose of this call is to increase the knowledge of local entrepreneurs, knowledge of the 3 E's, the experts, the education, and economic resources that are available to them to be successful in small business. And so we really appreciate building this network of people who can help those resources get to the people that need them. For most of you, you know that the answer to economic success for all communities, not just ours, nationwide and locally, it's true that like 80% of the new jobs come from small businesses. And even though many of them will not succeed, even given that lots of them don't succeed, 65% of the net new jobs come from those small businesses and the people who are brave enough to go out into those endeavors. So we're really trying to build this network. We started with extension agents specifically, and we've decided that because there's always a drop-off in knowledge between that person that hears it and the next person that hears it. We encourage you, today I will be sending out the recording afterwards to everybody that was signed up on the call. And so you'll get a copy of the recording and all the previous recordings, and send those to whoever you want to hear them, and let them hear them and encourage them to join the next calls. So today our guest is Cassie Wandersee, and Cassie is the Managing Director of the Center for Rural Enterprise Engagement. She's going to tell us about that. Our topic is launching an e-commerce store, how to know when you're ready and how to make it happen. And so without further ado, Cassie, take it away. And you're all muted, and I will be monitoring the chat box. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat box. Cassie has urged you to turn on your video so she can see who's with us. So those brave ones who are willing to do that, that's awesome. And Cassie, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nancy. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here. I know it's Friday and we all have a lot going on after the holidays, so I'm really excited to be able to visit with y'all today about e-commerce. Like Nancy said, I'm the Managing Director of the Center for Rural Enterprise Engagement, which is a mouthful. So the way I explained it to my dad, who still has a flip phone, doesn't know how to work Netflix and can't turn a computer on, is that I teach farmers to run Facebook. And the most simplistic explanation of what it is that we do, that's pretty much it. We're really enabling people in rural enterprises and rural businesses in the ag industry to use those new media marketing tools to help them build their businesses or build those rural communities so they can continue to succeed. So I'll switch over here to my PowerPoint preview. So if you have questions, please just, like Nancy said, type them over in that chat box or unmute, or I think there's an option to like wave on here too. So just feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions. So we will get going, if I can remember how to share my screen and get this started. All right, can everybody see that PowerPoint screen? Get it? Like, I think I see some heads nodding. Okay, that's why I like having the video on. Like,
looks good.
Perfect. Okay. So like I said, today we're talking about launching an e-commerce store. So here's kind of my short slide about CRE. Really, we're focusing on being a generator and a source of knowledge about new media marketing, really enabling rural and ag businesses to flourish in these ever-changing environments. And we know with new media technology, it changes so quickly on a daily and sometimes it feels like hourly basis. There's something new popping up with Facebook or Twitter, or Instagram, or new platforms emerging, or new ways to reach out to customers or potential customers. And it can be overwhelming. So I'm really excited. Part of my job is helping others understand what's going on and being able to really simplify that. So just a little bit about my background. I completed my master's degree in ag communications here at K-State in 2016, and then took a job at the University of Florida after that in their Public Issues Education Center. So while I was there at the PI Center, I worked as a research coordinator, focusing a lot on public communication with stakeholders in the state of Florida. Florida was wonderful, except for the humidity and the mosquitoes and the alligators. So when Dr. Laurie Baker here in the Communications and Ag Education Department reached out to me and said, hey, we've got this position opening up and I want you to apply for it. I said, okay. I'm a farm kid, grew up just south of Manhattan, a little town called Dwight, where we run cattle and have a little farm ground. So I understand what it's like to get one new pair of shoes a year when school started based on how well the livestock did that year. So when we talk about understanding rural communities and that rural way of life, that's what I grew up in and I love it. So I'm really, really excited to be back and being able to help those audiences. So you see there, it lists my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on there. It's got a little more information about my background and bio. So just reach out to me anytime you want to, or connect with me on there. So we'll dive right in. So today we really have 4 objectives that we're going to focus on. Really understanding what e-commerce is, determining our preparedness to jump into it. We're going to examine some of the available platforms and then identify next steps. So I'll tell you right now, if you thought I was going to provide like the silver bullet of this is how I run e-commerce, I'm going to walk out of here with it set up today, that's not going to happen. There's a lot of planning that goes into place before we can launch that e-commerce store. So walking away from the day, I want you guys to be able to start that planning process to say, I feel confident in knowing these are the next steps that I need to take so I can be ready. Oh, I feel like I'm jumping ahead of the slide. So step 1, understanding e-commerce. So what is e-commerce? It's direct online selling from your business to customers. So in my mind, that can be a service. So if like for the Center for Rural Enterprise Engagement, I can list on my Facebook page or on our website to say, hey, we have these services available where you can book a training or come to our boot camp, and all of that's available online. It could also be a hard product where you're selling popcorn or processed ag products, whatever that might be. If you're selling it directly online to your customers, you're involved in e-commerce. So your consumers don't have to enter a physical location. They can complete the entire transaction online without even the need to talk to a person. You may not even have to have a physical location. And I think as we're thinking about the cost of operating a business, there's a lot of people that are going towards that method of just having an online presence because of the cost of rent or buying a building and the cost with insurance and bonding and all of those other things that go along with having that physical location. And a lot of times we're using multiple platforms to facilitate online selling. So you may have a website that has your storefronts on it, but you're also promoting your products through Facebook or Twitter. Maybe you have a great email list where you're able to reach out to people, or if you're in a farmer's market on the weekends where you're connecting with people in person and then being able to direct them to your online store. So e-commerce is not just this, it doesn't live in just this space online. I think it's connected to a lot of other areas as well in our businesses. So what are the benefits of e-commerce? So there was a report that came out in 2017 that's telling us that 51% of Americans prefer to shop online. That's not just that they are shopping online, it's how they prefer to shop. 96% of Americans with internet access have made an online purchase. That's a lot of people. And if we don't have an online presence or that e-commerce presence, we're missing out on those sales. 80% of those purchases occurred in the last month. And in 2017, that translated into $2.3 trillion in e-commerce sales. That's a lot of money. I can't even imagine what $2.3 trillion looks like, but it would be great if our rural and ag businesses could get in on a slice of that. And we're really looking at about a 23% yearly growth rate in e-commerce. So it's continuing to grow and expand, and there's a demand for it. So that should kind of give us a feeling in security and investing the time and the money into launching these e-commerce stores. One challenge that we're seeing is that small businesses really aren't online, and there's a lot of small business owners that say the internet is not important to their business. So from the research that we've done here at CRE and other communications research, there's a lot out there that says that consumers don't trust businesses that don't have an online presence. So how many times have you been in a new city and searched for a restaurant and haven't been able to find it on Facebook, or it doesn't have a website, and you go, oh, well, if they're not online, I don't know what they're like. I can't read a review from a friend or from someone else that's eaten there. Or if you're looking at buying a new product on Amazon and it has no reviews, you might be a little more hesitant to purchase it. So these businesses that aren't online and don't have that presence I think are really missing out on an opportunity to build trust with potential consumers. So we're looking at 74% of small businesses that don't have an e-commerce store, 42% that's saying that web's not important, and 28% don't have any sort of website or online presence at all. So I think that's a huge area where we can really focus on improving. One great thing is that rural shoppers are online, they exist. I know for me, living 30 minutes outside of town, a lot of times it's easier to order something online and have our UPS guy deliver it right to my front door. And if I had the opportunity, I would love to order that from a local business owner or someone in my community or within the state or within the region, instead of going to those big box stores like Walmart or Amazon. So we're looking at an individual in a rural area spending about $684 online annually. So compared to our rural, or our urban and suburban shoppers, that's a little bit less than they're spending, but we do know that they exist in those rural communities. 39% shop on web stores or independent boutiques, and 40% are looking at shopping on those category specific stores. So again, going back to a lot of those rural and ag-based businesses that provide those very specific commodities or products. And rural shoppers are spending about 4.5 hours a week shopping online. So again, like looking at our statistics and research, I think we should feel confident knowing that it's worth the time and the energy and the money to invest in going to these e-commerce platforms. Some of the challenges we see with rural shoppers are that they really are concerned about their privacy and online security. How many times have we heard in the last year about these big online breaches of credit card security? Think about Target and these credit monitoring services. So that's a big concern for our rural audiences. They're really concerned about that brand perception and trust. Again, going back to that need to have a strong online presence, but never forgetting that with rural shoppers especially, those personal relationships really matter. So if you're able to form a personal relationship with someone in person, whether it's through your storefront or a pop-up store, those farmers market type places, those relationships really matter in building that brand perception and trust. And then providing that excellent customer service online as well as in your physical locations. And another challenge is having a website that's designed well and is easy to use. So unfortunately, the research doesn't tell us a lot about preferred website design because people's tastes are so unique and they're all attracted to different things on websites. So for me, it really goes back to that ease of use. Is your shopping cart function, is it easy to navigate? Can people go in and add and remove items easily? Does it tell them what their total is going to be in the shipping cost before they get to the end? Can they enter a coupon code or enter a gift card online? And how easy is all of that to navigate? Or is it a really clunky system? Because I know I've gotten frustrated with trying to buy something online where the checkout process is a nightmare and I will abandon that purchase. So we want to really make sure that our customers aren't doing the same thing. So moving on, I know that's a really quick overview of kind of what e-commerce is and what it can be, but we're really going to think about determining our preparedness now. So how ready are you to jump into this world of e-commerce? If I can get my slides to go. So when we think about e-commerce, I really want you guys to think about kind of like 6 key areas. I know this might be a little small to read on your screen, but we're really looking at those areas institutionally, in the infrastructure, economic, those cultural areas, your business perspective, and your managerial perspective. So as we're thinking about all of those different aspects, we'll kind of run through a quick breakdown of what each of those might be. So when we think about the institutional aspects, we're wondering and want to know, do we have tech savvy people in our business? People that can manage a website or help build a website if you need one? Do you have IT support, whether it's internal or external through your third-party website? And do you have a secure web platform that allows for payments? I'm thinking of our infrastructure. Do we have a process to directly ship our products to customers? Do we have a way to provide those services or schedule those services? Can our product be stored for a long time without losing its quality? And then thinking of, our economic reasons. Do we have the time to commit to a new project with selling online? Do we have employees that can dedicate time? Are we willing to answer product questions on nights and weekends and make sure that, Joe over in Missouri gets his Christmas gift for his wife in time? And if not, he might leave us that scathing review on Yelp or on Facebook. When we're thinking about our internal culture, are we excited for a new challenge? Are our employees excited? Do we have buy-in within our institution? And then externally, do we have, is there a need? Do our customers have a demand? Have they asked for us to sell things online? And then thinking from our business perspective, do we have a flexible business that can adapt to the changes in e-commerce really quickly? Are we struggling to keep our employees busy? Is this an opportunity for them to become more involved and have more job security? Maybe we can go from seasonal work with our employees to having them be able to work full time if they're managing our online stores. And then thinking about it from our managerial perspective, as managers of our businesses, are we innovative? Can we adapt quickly enough to keep up with our e-commerce trends? Do our employees get excited when we come with something new to them? Or do they kind of scoff at a new idea we have? And our employees, are they offering new suggestions or new ways and directions to kind of take our business? So in my mind, all of those things are really first steps in considering whether or not we're really ready. So I am a big fan of Qualtrics. I love their online surveys. So I have a 28-question quiz that'll take less than 5 minutes to complete. So I will ask right now, how many of you are interested in launching an e-commerce store? That's your goal in being here today? Or how many of you are just learning about it so you can take that information to your audiences? Not everybody at once. Don't forget to unmute. See if I can find my chat screen here. Here's my chat. Okay, so Kim, I know you want to launch. How about anybody else? Is anybody ready to launch this year? Is that your 4-month plan or 6-month plan? Or are you just looking for information for your audiences that you're working on helping? Emily, you're ready to launch? Awesome. Nadine. Okay, so it looks like we have some people on here that are ready to launch, some people maybe just looking around. So I will send you the link to this Qualtrics survey. So that should have just come through in your chat. So if you click through to that link, it will take you to that 28 question survey. And at the end, it'll score. So it's really easy. They're yes, no questions. It's not going to be too much for a Friday morning before 10 a.m., I promise. So if you guys want, we can take the time to go through that quiz really quickly and kind of look at your score, and that'll kind of help us know how prepared we are for this e-commerce. There's also the QR code reader on your screen. So you can also scan that if that's big enough for y'all to look at, and that'll take you directly to the survey on your mobile device. Okay, so John, you're an extension agent, so looking for information for your clientele. Awesome. So one thing about this quiz is I will leave the quiz up and available publicly. So as long as you have that link, anyone can take the quiz, and it'll give them their score on that 28-point scale at the end, and then a breakdown of kind of where they're at preparedness-wise for e-commerce. So just in the interest of time, since I have a tendency to ramble a little bit and get really excited about what I'm talking about, we'll kind of go through and look at some of the assessment of what your quiz results might be when you have the opportunity to take that.
And so Cassie, as I look at the people on this list, I will just share with you that from my perspective, the great majority of them are from commerce or extension or resources that would be exploring for the purpose of helping others.
Okay.
So the smallest percentage, maybe 20% or less, are here as people who might be wanting to launch.
Okay, all right. So I'll run through of what, if you are thinking about maybe advising others on if they're ready to launch or helping them think about e-commerce, I'll kind of break down the way that I would talk to somebody and advise somebody in getting ready to launch their e-commerce store. As always, I think y'all have my email or know how to get a hold of me. Excuse me, so if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. I'm always here. And like I said, that quiz link will always work, and I'm working on building a page on our website, theruralengagement.org, that'll have this information and the presentation and the resources on it. So I'll make sure you guys have access to all of that. So as we're looking at assessing our readiness, we're saying that if that score is from 28 to 22, go for it. You're ready. Like, take the plunge and just see how it goes, which I know can be terrifying. But e-commerce is also one of those, once you've planned for it, it's kind of trial by fire, and that's why it's quick. It's extremely important to be ready to adapt quickly to any changes or tweaks you might need to make. So even with that high score of meeting all the markers and getting those 28 points, there's still a couple of things that I would really advise someone to consider. Really thinking about that time dedication. E-commerce can be overwhelming if you get slammed with 100 orders on your first day, which would be great. It's also going to take a lot of time to process all of those orders, get things ready to ship, and then following up with the customer service as far as the emailing back and forth or answering inquiries over the phone. So it all takes time. So definitely consider the time dedication and make sure that you or whoever might be wanting to launch that e-commerce store has the time. Another aspect is cost. I'm sure as a lot of you know, these website hosting platforms can be expensive. We pay for a WordPress business license, and I think that's about $30 a month. And then we also, due to the K-State compliance, work through authorize.net to have our online payment system. So that's another $29 a month plus a service fee on each charge. So I would say you're probably looking about a minimum of $60 a month just to have the technology capabilities to host that platform. And that's at a minimum. And there's a lot that you can get into that are more advanced, that have more opportunities, but also have an increased cost with that. So make sure that investment on the back end for the technology is going to be offset by what profits you'd be seeing coming in from your online stores. Definitely think about technology. If you haven't updated your laptop or your desktop computer in about 10 years, you'll probably need a machine that'll work a little faster that can handle those online orders and those management platforms. But the other side of that, thinking about technology, is making sure that you or someone on your team that can be reliable has that knowledge of how to run those e-commerce stores, how to access orders, and then how to, on the back end, manage inventory and pricing. So definitely make sure that you're prepared to take on that technology. And again, of course, always that return on investment. Is the time and cost, is that all worth putting in and launching this e-commerce store? So kind of that next level of readiness if you got, oh, skipping slides here. If you are anywhere between that 21 to 15, I would say refine your plan. That's one thing that you'll hear me talk a lot about with launching anything in the new media marketing world, is to have a plan in place and know how you're going to execute that plan before you start out. So if you're falling in that, we kind of have our ducks in a row and I think we're maybe ready, really go back and assess your plan and make sure you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's. So do your research, learn from others, talk to other business owners that have launched an e-commerce store and learn from their success and their failures. Again, make sure you're really comfortable with that technology and IT support, that you have access to it. Think about your logistics. Do you have a reliable way to ship your products? Do you have UPS or FedEx services that'll come to your place of business or your home to pick up orders on a regular basis? Maybe they need to be there every day. Maybe they need to be there once a week. But what happens if, like me, you live 20 miles from town and you get a snowstorm and you have a pile of orders that need to get shipped? So what are those considerations for logistics and how you're going to get your projects out there? And really think about your customer demand. Do you know that there's a consistent demand for your product and that people want to be able to buy those products online? And I think that's one of the biggest considerations, is making sure that there is a demand for what we're trying to sell or to promote to people. And again, really with that, we think we're almost ready to launch, but we have a few things to look at, is really make sure that you have that ability to adapt to change quickly, because as we launch and continue to refine our planning and our processes, it's going to require quick changes. So just make sure you're ready for that as well. If you've got that score anywhere from that 14 to 8 range, I would say really start planning. At that point, I would say you've probably thought about launching an e-commerce store and have heard success stories that say, hey, we launched online and now we're making thousands of dollars a week. And that doesn't happen for everyone, unfortunately. So really start that planning process. Analyze your current efforts, whether it's at a physical location or if you're doing, maybe you're just processing email orders or someone's commenting on your products on Facebook saying, hey, I want to order that, inbox me, private message me. So think about what your current environment is like and then create your plans for the future. And really assess those plans thoroughly before implementing. Really start thinking about the strength of your website. Is it well designed? Can the infrastructure handle that e-commerce platform? How are you going to deliver those goods or services? Are you going to ship them directly to a customer? Do they have to still come to you to pick them up, or are you going to deliver them yourself? And then make sure you can still provide that level of customer service. Because I know with rural and ag businesses, we are very picky about receiving quality customer service and hold ourselves to very high standards in providing that as well. I come from a small town of about 200 people. So if you screw up, everybody's going to know it by the next morning at the coffee shop. And we know those rural reputations matter. So really make sure you can provide that excellent customer service. And again, make sure you have that comfort with new technology and processes in mind. I know as the millennial in an office of non-millennials, I often get the question of, oh, you're young, you know how this works, right? And sometimes my answer is yes. A lot of times my answer is no. So just make sure that you're comfortable with that new technology and understand it before we really dive in. And ultimately, as you're getting ready to launch, make sure you have that long-term success in mind. So, have markers for yourself for 6 months, for a year, for 5 years, and really work towards those long-term goals. So if you fall into that score of 7 to 0, I'm going to really advise you to think about determining your need and assessing if e-commerce is something that you really want to dive into and is really going to be vital to your business. It's not for everyone. It's a lot to manage and it may not help your bottom line. And that's okay. I work in new media marketing and research, and I would love to say it will work for everyone, but the reality is sometimes it won't. So really make sure there's truly a need and a demand, that you and your team are excited, that you have those technology skills and a viable website, and then it's going to impact your bottom line. And if it's not going to work out, that's okay. Maybe set it as a goal to look at it and revisit it again in a year or two and make sure that it will help you. But don't get discouraged. Take the time needed, spend that time planning, learn more about e-commerce and making it work as a reality for your business. Part of the steps in getting ready for that could be attending our boot camp coming up in February. Sorry, I've got to get my little selfless plugs in there while I can. But just take the time to learn and visit with others that are launching e-commerce platforms or have had success with it. And just learn all you can before you decide it's something you want to jump into. So at the end of the day, in my mind, you need it all to make it work in e-commerce or in any new media marketing strategy or any marketing strategy, whatever that may be. You have to have all those aspects of institutional preparedness, the infrastructure set up, the economic demand and need, the internal culture and external culture, your business perspectives and those managerial perspectives. Before you launch, like for me, the 28 question quiz is what we have for really getting ready to launch. And I want you to have a 28 score on that every time you take it and think about it before you decide you're ready to jump into that e-commerce store. Because really that planning and being prepared for any eventuality is what's going to help you be successful or help your clientele or your community members that you're advising, help them be successful in launching this e-commerce store. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the platforms that are available. There are an overwhelming number of e-commerce platforms and options out there. So I would advise you, even after today, do some more research, see what else is out there, talk to others that have used them, and really assess what works best for you, based not only on like the function, but also on those price points, because those can vary pretty widely as well. So I would really think about your current platforms. What are you working in already? And is there a way that you can adapt an e-commerce selling platform to those things? So if you have a website, of course, make sure it's mobile friendly, because we're seeing mobile sales increase every year. So is there an e-commerce plugin that you can just add to your website on Wix or on WordPress? If you're on Facebook and maybe that's the only online platform you're using, have you considered using the Facebook store as your way to sell those products instead of having to design another website and manage another online presence? Do you have an existing point of sale system for your physical location, like a Square Reader that can be added to a ShopKeep platform where people can get online and shop without having to come to your location? Are you operating right now through email ordering, where somebody sends an email to your inbox and you check it every day and process orders in that way? And does that work for you? I think really with that email ordering, that works well if you have a low volume of orders with repeat customers that you know are coming back for your goods on a regular basis. So by no means am I going to suggest that everyone has to have a website and an e-commerce store with a shopping cart and coupon codes and these huge promotions, because that doesn't work for everyone and it's not right for every business. So I would say find what works for you or what works for those people you're advising. If you're looking at having an existing website, like I said, WordPress, they have a couple great integrations that you can use through their plugins. Like WooCommerce is a really popular one. And like I said, we use authorize.net, and we also have a membership too plugin with that, because part of what we're going to launch in 2018 is an online membership where you'll have more access to kind of those in-depth tools. So like I said, as we're moving towards that system of paid services, that's one area that we're looking to expand in, is to having a membership to our services. Oop, and I'm jumping through all kinds of slides now. So if you've got Wix, they do have on their capability with Wix stores, which is a direct like website building tool where you can build your entire store within their platform. And Amazon is another great option. I know I have my Prime membership, and I love when I see a store or a brand that I like to shop with frequently that's on Prime, and I can get my shipping in 2 days. So that's another option there. And just some things to consider if you are looking at those website options. Think about the cost of hosting a website plus the additional cost of payment processing, because it can add up pretty quickly. Look at the inventory management options. Do you have to get in and update inventory every day? I'm guessing with a lot of our products, they're probably not convenient of scanning a barcode and it'll be automatically updated every time we sell something. So think about having to manage that online inventory. What are our customer payment options? Can they pay with a PayPal account as well as with credit and debit cards? Do you want to give them the option to enter their bank information and have a bank draft? Are you going to accept American Express and Discovered, because there tend to be extra fees associated with accepting those credit cards beyond your kind of, Visa and MasterCard. So those are all things to consider and things that add up cost-wise pretty quickly. And definitely, absolutely consider the security of the customer information. If you're working through a third-party payment processor, do they have secure servers where if you're not going to have to worry about your customer's information being compromised? Because I'll tell you right now, that's a headache none of us ever want to have to deal with. One other great option, I think, can be utilizing the Facebook store. So maybe you're not ready to launch a new website with all of those shopping options. So Facebook store can be a really great way to start out selling online. So they have the shop tab on there. You can use PayPal to help process payments, or Stripe. There's a lot of different platform integrations that you can work through with Facebook. Or even having them start in your Facebook store and then checking out on another website that can link them to your company website or to that third-party payment processor, or the option of the message to purchase. So, your visitors to your Facebook store can send your company page a direct message saying, hey, I'd like to purchase this item. So a little more hands-on in processing the transactions there, but still a good option if you're really comfortable working in that Facebook platform. So just some things to consider. If you don't have a website, I think this can be a great option. But if you have an existing storefront like Shopify, Etsy, or Magento, those integrate really well into Facebook and can just be pretty much plugged in directly. So you don't have to go through the process of building it again in Facebook. I would say direct those customers to your existing platform. So if you do have a great Facebook presence, you can use Facebook to direct them to those online stores that you maybe already have or are creating. And then always give customers the option to message you to learn more about a product or to order. So maybe they see something online in your store and they have a question about, hey, I have a nut allergy. Does this have tree nuts in it? Or, this says it's a size medium, but does it fit like a small? Because we've all had those experiences of having something shipped to us online that's not what we expected. And if we had had the opportunity to ask that question and get an honest response, it would make our experiences with that product so much better. So thinking about those existing point of sales and really being able to expand the capabilities of those. So with those online payment processing through PayPal or Square Reader or Stripe, a lot of those platforms have partnerships with existing online websites or platforms that we can use really easily to start that online store. And that's something that's pretty seamless to set up because they want you to continue to spend your money to use their services. So they make it as easy as possible. Again, really think about those fees for the website platform, the time and investment it's going to take to build those. We all know building a website, even from a template like WordPress or Wix, it can take time. And again, definitely think about that inventory management online. You don't want someone to place an order and then you have to follow up with an email or a phone call to say, hey, I'm sorry, I know you ordered this online, but we actually don't have it in stock. So really consider those ways to manage that inventory. And I'll hit back on this. I'm not personally a huge fan of email ordering just because of the time it takes to manage and making sure you don't miss those emails, but it is still definitely a viable option. I always think of it as like the modern day catalog, like the Sears and Roebuck of online shopping, being able to send an email in directly to the business owner or the business account and say, hey, I'd like to order this, and processing those payments via email back and forth. So it's just a couple things to consider with that. It's time consuming, but it can be a low cost option, and it works great if you have an existing customer base. I've seen it happen a lot of times with like custom butchering, people that process pork or beef products that say, hey, we slaughtered and have half a beef available. These are the cuts we have. Email us to order it and let us know when we can drop it off. So in its most basic form, I would consider that a form of e-commerce and online selling. And if that's what works for you and your customers, then continue that, and then consider building into some of these other more advanced platforms as you move on. One option too is to look at third-party management, and I'll give them a little plug that from the land of Kansas, they have a great e-commerce platform where they really handle all of the online processing. They work with their merchant members to get that inventory and have it online, but they take care of the marketing and promotion. They help manage the accounts, and then at the end of each month, any sales from those products, they directly deposit it into their members' bank accounts and provide tax reports. So if it's one of those that maybe you just don't have the time to manage an e-commerce platform, there are some great options, especially with From the Land of Kansas, for this third-party management. So that's always an option too, and a great resource. So next steps. I know we've covered a lot in not a huge amount of time, and like I said, I get excited, and I know I talk fast and I get kind of rambling. So we'll think about some of those next steps. So there's 4 areas that as we're thinking about e-commerce, I would really encourage you to think about, and that's research, the plan, implementing, and then assessing. So when we think about those research aspects, really determine the needs. So what do you need from an e-commerce store? What do your customers need? What's the cost of those different platforms going to be? And then what are the benefits that you'll see from that? As we're thinking about actually creating a plan to launch an e-commerce store, what platform are you going to use? What products will be on there? And then how are you going to manage all of that platform and products and inventory and logistics and shipping? And then when you go to implementing your plan for an e-commerce store, promote it. You know, how do you make your customers or potential customers aware that this exists? Are you going to do it through an e-newsletter? Are you going to do it through Facebook? Are you going to send out a traditional mailer through a postcard? How do you get word out there that your products are now available online? And then launch. It's terrifying. Like, click the button, make it live, and just go for it. I think that's kind of like, you know, you get your feeling in the pit of that stomach, like, oh, is this really going to work? But sometimes you just have to go for it, and then monitor it really closely. Keep an eye out for comments on products or emails, or make sure, you know, sometimes it's answering your phone after 5 o'clock or at 8 o'clock at night. You get a call about a product or from a customer with a concern. So just keep an eye on it and make sure that everything is going smoothly and working the way it should. And then think about assessing your efforts. I'm big on research. I love numbers and statistics, which I never thought I would ever say that in my adult life. But there's so much fun to look at. So think about those ways that you're getting feedback. So those could be feedback from online reviews. You know, are people excited about being able to buy from you online? Are they reviewing your products on Facebook or on your platform or on Yelp or wherever that might be, or Google? So keep an eye on those feedback platforms. From a numbers standpoint, how is it affecting your revenue? Are you seeing your sales increase online? Are they slowing down in your physical location because people are shifting towards that online purchasing? Are you seeing an increase in both because maybe someone was able to buy online and they provide a recommendation to someone that comes into your physical store? So track those numbers for sure. And then looking at the analytics built into a website. So Google Analytics is a great platform to track web hits on your website. With Facebook, there's also some great options to track insights there, and especially through their ad platforms. So I know it can be, again, a scary and a tough process to learn how to use those analytic tools, but they're really, really necessary to measuring and monitoring the success of your online stores. So that kind of sums up everything that I wanted to bring up for you guys to consider and think about today. So I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity, since we have a great group of people here, to really kind of share, like, what experiences have you had with e-commerce? Have you had any? What successes or failures, or what current plans do you guys have in place?
So, Cassie, I'll give people time to think about those questions, but I might propose some alternative questions as well.
Sure.
And an alternative question would be, as people who are maybe the link to other people who know the answers to the questions you formulated, what are the ways that we can use this recording? Let's think together about ways that we can use this recording to reach out to people who need this information.
You know, I think for me, one thing that I'm really working, because we went through and completely redesigned our website at ruralengagement.org and have really worked to refocus here. I'll stop sharing my screen because nobody needs to look at my thank you slide for that long. You know, are what ways do we provide that information publicly that's in a format that's really easy for people to access? I went through the CMS training for the K-State websites, and I'll tell you right now, like, even our kstate.edu site for CRE, it's clunky, it's painful. Our research and extension pages are painful to try to navigate through. Things are hidden so deeply in there that they're tough to find. So for me, it's really about making sure that people have a way to get easy access to this information, and then knowing who to contact to get it, and then how do we connect them with those correct people. So I guess where are you guys directing people currently to get more information on websites or e-commerce, or where are you sending people now, or where have you gone for information?
Remember that you're all muted, but each of you has the opportunity to unmute your microphone.
See,
Teresa, I'm not hearing you. I can see that you're not muted, but I'm not hearing you. No. Dang it. Okay, so Teresa is a great facilitator up in Northeast Kansas, and I'd be anxious for you to share your expertise because you've got some great experiences.
Teresa, you could also use that chat option if it's not, I know typing out can be a little lengthy process.
So Cindy Evans says she's going to share this archived video with her community development PDC and engage them in discussion of how we can connect local businesses with the Center for Rural Engagement and Entrepreneurship with CRE.
Yeah, Cindy, thanks so much for sharing the video and directing them to some of our resources. I know that's one thing that it seems we've really struggled with as an organization is connecting to communities and even just connecting with people in our own building, so they know who we are and why we exist. That's something that we haven't done a great job doing. So we're really working to improve our own outreach and just making sure people know that we exist and that we're available as a resource.
So Cassie, Jane Whitson, who's a new agent in community development, said she's not had any questions so far, but appreciates knowing about this great resource. And she wonders about what news releases you might have. And I'd like to go back to your boot camp because I really think that this group of agents should know about helping to refer others. And so after this session, I will be sending out to everybody that was signed up, even if they aren't on the call today, a link to this and every other recording. And I will also include the information about the boot camp. So Cassie, go ahead.
Yeah, so the boot camp will be coming up at the end of February. So it's a day and a half. So it'll be February 27th and 28th here in Manhattan. And I just included the link there to that ruralengagement.org/bootcamp. But it's a day and a half of pretty intensive training on a lot of these new media marketing platforms. And we will talk about e-commerce again there as well. And that'll be more of a hands-on interactive workshop where we're actually take you guys through some of these platforms and what they look like and really think about getting ready to launch them. But with Bootcamp, we really think more holistically about our marketing strategy and online presence. So we'll start out day one, first thing in the morning, going through some storytelling and narrative exercises. Because I think a lot of times that can be the hardest part of starting to promote or market our business or our services, especially in research and extension. I think sometimes we struggle to vocalize and put down in writing what it is exactly that we do or how we help people or what our mission and our goals are. So we'll start out day one really going through a couple different exercises to really get our brains going about what it is that we do and what we want people to know about what we do. And then translating that organizational message or business message to all of our platforms, whether they're online or on print or still in person, and really translating that entire message across platforms and having those strategies in place and knowing how to execute a communications plan. And of course, I'll hit on again, I love analytics and statistics. So we'll give you guys some tools on how to measure all of that. So I'll be leading sessions looking at some of the advanced Facebook analytics, because I don't know if y'all know this, you can download your data and put it into Excel, or I'm a fan of SPSS, those other kind of more advanced statistics platforms. And so you can really get in there and look at some more insights. So part of what I do for our career page is even looking so far at kind of analyzing qualitatively the text and the message in our individual Facebook posts. So what content are we talking about that people engage with more often? Is there a correlation between our content and our engagement? And so for us, we find that the posts that we put out that are educational or help businesses or individuals, those are things that do really well. So looking at those analytics, I have that understanding of, hey, it's fun to have those lifestyle posts and those great memes, but people really don't care about it. So I need to focus my efforts on providing those educational insights. But if I hadn't looked at those analytics, I wouldn't know that. So I hope with our boot camp that I can really get people to a point where they're comfortable with kind of diving in and looking at those analytics. And I think one great thing too about the boot camp is the opportunity to network, to meet other people that are entrepreneurs or involved in research and extension or these community development programs, and having the chance to visit with somebody else that's going, yeah, I'm struggling with Facebook, or I'm not sure about diving into our website. I don't know what kind of content to put in our blog, and having an opportunity to discuss those issues with other people that are going through the same thing. So looks like we've got a note from Teresa. Thanks for typing that in. So you're using several marketing experts and developers in a region that you refer folks to. And you have helped many clients that are developers to refer clients for help, or referring clients to Bootcamp on e-commerce, I think will be a great resource. Awesome, thank you. So I think it's a challenge to get connected into those people that are providing great services and knowing who to refer people to. I think that can even be a challenge in and of itself, because there's a ton of people out there that are freelancing or have a website that say, oh yeah, I'll make a marketing plan for you, or I'll manage your Facebook page for, so many dollars a week or a month. And you sometimes really don't know what you're getting into, or if they're really doing as well as they can for you. So I think having access to those reputable resources is really, really important. This is business owners. I mean, a lot of us are parents, or, you know, I'm a dog mom. I've got a 5-month-old red heeler puppy that needs attention, or, you know, you're shuffling kids to practice and trying to manage a farm or a ranch and working full time. Like, it's a lot to manage. So, you know, knowing that you're investing your time and your money and good resources, I think is really, really important. So.
Good.
All right, again, I'm still rambling, so
no, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Or ask more questions or whatever it might be.
Okay. Well, I'll watch to see if anyone unmutes to interject something. And while I'm waiting and watching, I want to tell you that our next call is February 2nd, the first Friday of February at 9:30 again. And the topic is Gary Panicello from the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, on business valuation and succession planning for small business. You know, part of the reason that we have blank storefronts is because people will get to retirement age without anticipating anything and then just close the door. You as extension agents and we as community members all have a role to play in helping that business owner to increase the value as they're anticipating their retirement, and then valuing what's there and preparing for somebody else to take over that role, so that the community continues to get the value out of that business that we care deeply about. So I hope you'll join us in February for the business valuation and succession planning session, and I hope you'll help us get this information out to people that you think need to hear about it directly. As I say, we have been kind of marketing this to extension agents, but I love that our partners around the state are hearing about this call, and thank you, extension agents, for opening those doors for us. We'll continue to try to spread the word so that we can get the resources to the people that need to know about them. Are there any last questions?
And also, if you guys think of any questions you have later on, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. The office phone routes to my cell phone on the weekends, and I'm normally pretty good about answering. So if you ever just run into something where you're like, I just need to talk this out, or I've got a question, always feel free to reach out to me. And like I said, I'm pretty passionate about our K-State research and extension and our rural communities. I've seen my little town of Dwight shrivel up a lot over the last 15 years. So it's really near and dear to my heart to help our rural businesses and our rural communities survive. So anything I can do to help, I'm more than happy to.
Fantastic. John Forshee suggests that we should share all of this with our local chambers and EcoDevo groups with the recording. And I'll send out Cassie's PowerPoint and the recording after probably sometime today. Thanks so much for joining us.